Well, hello folks, welcome to another video. Okay, so I guess while I'm in the video making mood, stupid. Trying to get my tablet logged in. There it goes. Cool, let's get the waters out of the way. Of course, I'll be drinking Diet Dr. Pepper today. See. Yep. Alright, and get the cigar. Get that. So today, I'll be smoking Macanudo Inspirado. So get it close. There you go. So I can get a nice video, I guess, avatar for it. And yeah, it's a pretty good size cigar. Nice for a nice 20-30 minute smoke. So yeah, so in this temperature I got about a good 25 minutes before the camera overheats. So yes, and I got my Pyramid dual flame lighter, which I have some marker, and I got bored and marked all over it. Of course, V-cut. I almost threw this lighter away because it started to, I guess, not fire, and I guess, I don't know, it just started working again. And I think this was 1 year, because that lighter's like 3-4 years old. Or is it? Anyways, it's more than a year old, so the warranty period is over. So of course, we got all of the Afghan refugee, and what people are saying is that about 90% of the folks coming over are men between the ages of 17 to 45, which is of course, combat fighting age. Who they're going to be fighting? It's probably us. So, of course, being a kid of a refugee, I guess, and I told the story about my dad, uncles, and older cousins, and of course, my dad is the youngest in his family, and between him and my oldest aunt, she's still alive. COVID didn't kill her. She actually went back, and I told that story too. She actually won a, it wasn't like the jackpot lottery, but she won, it wasn't the main jackpot lottery, but she won like one of the sub jackpots. And of course, she's already, in her retirement age. But she's like, hey, I'm taking this jackpot money, I'm going back to the old country and living like a queen. And yeah, she's living it up. I think the jackpot was something like something like 3 million, something like that. And yeah, 3 million will go a long way in Southeast Asia. Yeah, can you blow it? Yes, you can. I've told a story about my dad going back. Of course, it's a communist country, and of course, people still want to try to invest, but the problem is, you get after you get through paying the government, all the licensing fee, then you have to deal with the asshole locals. And one buddy who, I guess he's a family friend. I don't know him personally, but I guess my other family members know him. So he's a white guy. Yeah, I'll get back to the I guess patriot story. So he's a white guy. He marries a local woman, and he wants to build a mill, a sawmill. because you need wood to build stuff. The Chinese are all up in that area, Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. Pretty much, chopping down all the trees they can, because China is building up like crazy, and they, the China, they're actually running out of sand to make concrete. That's how much they're building. And a lot of their buildings, from what people are saying, is the guys got no people in it. They're just building. And if you think about a country with 1.5 billion people, and you built enough buildings to where there's I guess more buildings than people, more rooms in the buildings than people. Yeah, you built a shitload. So so he paid these folks to build him the sawmill, and he would check up because he's there. So he would check up, like, hey, you guys started building yet? Yeah, well, we're gonna pour the foundation. He goes back and checks. It's like, yeah, they poured the foundation, but the concrete was crap. And literally, it would crumble in your hand. So he goes to check the foundation, and he's like, hey man, you can't build on top of this foundation. The concrete is crumbling in my hand. So you guys know, oh, we need more money if you want us to re-pour the concrete for the foundation. So he's like, no, screw you guys, I'm gonna go with somebody else. Last I heard, he never got his sawmill built. And of course, there's stories after stories of people trying to go back to invest, and like I said, after you get through paying all the money, paying the politicians, then you have to deal with the locals who wants to just take your money. So like my dad, he went back, tried to. This is before the big oud thing hit with the fragrance and the cosmetic industry, because he saw it coming. And of course, oud, comes out of Laos, or that area, Southeast Asia area. I guess India too. India has a huge, oud industry. Of course, a lot of it that's in colognes and fragrances and stuff is the fake stuff. If you buy a fragrance that has like real oud oil in it, it's going to cost you hundreds. Because the oil itself, the concentrate, because that's what they. And of course, it's also expensive, because in order to get the oil, you have to strip the bark from the tree, which pretty much destroys the tree. And at that point, you have to chop the tree down and plant a new one. Of course, you take the bark, and I guess there's a process of boiling and letting the oils, come out of the boil. I kind of looked at the process a little bit, but the tree that has the oud oil, the way that it works is that it has to have this fungus has to infect the bark, and once it infects enough of the bark of the tree is when you strip the bark off the tree, and it's this fungus that causes the tree to secrete the oud sap. And that's what oud comes from. Is from this dark brown sap that the tree secretes to fight this fungus. So I guess what they're doing at these farms is that they're in some cases they're purposely inoculating the trees with these fungus. They're doing it in the Philippines. A lot of oud are coming out of the Philippines also. It's a nice cigar. It's a smooth draw. It's actually I completely forgot about. I bought a 5 count. I completely forgot about it. So it's been in the humidor for a good 4 to 5 months now. So it's plenty. It's been plenty. What's that word? Humidored. I don't know. Yeah, but they tell you, hey, when you first buy a new cigar, a new batch of cigar, to leave it in your humidor at least for 3 months before you begin to go through them. Of course, we all at least take out 1 stick to try it. That day you get it, or at least a few days after. We have a nice smooth draw, nice even burn all the way around. I would say this is a mild cigar, not a light cigar. It's not a strong cigar either. It's so yeah. So my dad goes and he tries to buy into a oud farm, and same deal. He lost his investment money. They kept telling him, yeah, we got it going. We're going to get it going. So eventually he just pulled out of that investment. Of course, you lose tens of thousands of dollars. And I had uncles and family friends who went back and also tried to open up businesses. What you call those, a bed and breakfast and stuff like that. And same thing. You have to be there to watch over these people, or else they'll just take your money. You go back and say, hey man, where's my bed and breakfast? Yeah, well, a fire burns it down. So sorry. Yeah. So anyway, so my dad is the youngest of his family. There's about an 18-year gap between him and my oldest aunt, again, who's alive. She's back in the old country because she won the lottery, and she's like, screw this, I ain't staying, I'm going back to the old country. Yeah, and a lot of the old folks too, they're going back to, even though it's still communist, they're going back with their pension, their retirement money, and they're living pretty nice. Since I didn't grow up there, I speak the language, but I don't really know the custom, and things like that. And visiting's okay, but in my case, I probably wouldn't enjoy living there. But who knows? Who knows? Once you get a little bit older, it's like, hey, you know what? It probably ain't bad. Probably ain't a bad thing to go back to the old country and live. So anyways, so when I mentioned, older cousins, because I got some cousins who are like, 20 years older than me. I refer to them as uncles, but they're actually my cousins. And they were the patriots who fought against the communists. And and of course this is in regards to the I guess the Afghans, the Afghan patriots who helped the U.S., the interpreters. They're going after everybody. They're going after even the ladies, who did laundry for the for the air bases like Bagram. They had like actually a small what you call it, a small ecology around the base to support the base, like ladies who wash clothes, sew clothing, sold food and things like that. Sold food and things like that. Do groceries, do cooking for people on the base. And yes, and Bagram is a big base. It's something like I think 10,000+ people. Well, it wasn't just soldiers or civilian workers, civilian contractors on the base, along with soldiers. So there was a small ecology that was around the base. So yeah, they're not just going after the interpreters, pretty much anyone, like say even the ladies who did the cooking and the washing of the clothes, for people at the air bases. And yeah, so basically my family, my dad, uncles, I guess there's real uncles, cousins, they were the patriots who fought against the communists. And of course I didn't know this till years later when I was an adult, to where you get to speak with your parents as an adult. And one of the things that my dad did was was to go get the down airmen. Of course there were CIAs. Of course CIAs were a little bit different back then. There were CIA agents there and Green Berets. So with the help of the Green Berets or the CIA, they would go get the down airmen, get them back to the to these Green Beret CIA guys, who then try to get the airmen back back to the U.S. Now, of course, they couldn't get to all of the airmen. Sometimes, the airman is dead. Either, I don't know, he broke his neck or whatever on a tree limb, or the plane goes down and the airman isn't able to eject. And by airman, I mean U.S. airmen, not, And I believe because they kind of rotated out this duty. And I believe he helped something like, three to five, somewhere around there. Of course, he's a lot older when we spoke. Of course, my dad has since passed away. May he rest in peace. But that was one of his duty, was to rescue downed American airmen. When he wasn't doing the other Patriot, fighting the commies. And of course, the weapons that we had, I'll refer as we, the weapons that they had or we had were leftovers from World War II that Americans left there, that the French left there. A lot of the guns were still let's call that not even the M1 Garand, because I think World War II, World War II, it was, I think a lot of them used the French guns, which were bolt actions. And so anyways, I guess in a war or in a firefight, a bolt action rifle, with a 5-round, it's not even a magazine, it's a well. I guess it's a 5-round ammo well. Because they didn't have magazine and they didn't have clips. They had, it's kind of like the M1 where there's a ammo well that your bullet goes in. That's built into the gun. And of course, for the airplanes, yes, we were flying leftover World War II, prop fighter planes versus was it MiG 22s or MiG 19s back then. It was the MiG 18, MiG 19s that the commies were supplying from Russia or Chinese made MiGs. I don't think the Chinese made MiGs back then, but either way, it was the Russian made. So with so other countries around Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia, those countries fell first. And of course, with those countries falling, of course, Vietnam was, only a year or two behind before Vietnam fell. The fall of Saigon. So, and in our case, most folks who came over were families. It was guys. It was husbands and wives and kids. It was guys with their wives. Just like what we're seeing now that's coming out of Afghanistan or coming out of Syria, where it's a bunch of single men with no wives, no kids. It's just a bunch of guys, crossing into Turkey and crossing into Europe. And yes, there were. I didn't look it up, but there were tens of thousands of us from that Southeast Asia, from that Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos area that flooded into the U.S. But of course, being that area is Buddhist, and one thing Buddhists don't do, and I do consider myself a Buddhist, one thing we don't do is try to push our religion on the people. You're not going to find us knocking on doors talking about, hey man, I'm with the local Buddhist temple, and I would like to give you this pamphlet to pass on the teachings of Buddha. No, we don't do that. And don't confuse the Hare Krishnas with us. Don't confuse those California celebrity libtards who are trying to be the Buddhists. They're trying to be is the Tibetan Buddhist, which is a orthodox, offshoot of Buddhism. original or the Buddhist, they're actually in India. The Buddhism that I follow, that's in Southeast Asia, that's in Thailand, Vietnam and stuff, is the Theravada Buddhism, which believes in a deity style Buddhism, but in actual Buddhism, there is no deity. It's just an ideology of self-worth. You pray for yourself, you pray for your soul, you give offerings for yourself, you give offerings for your ancestors. And yes, when people ask, hey, do Buddhists believe in abortion? Well, our ideology is all creatures, animals, plants, insects, bacteria, have a soul, and they all have a right to live, and you shouldn't kill them. Of course, calling an animal, I won't say calling, but I guess killing an animal for eating is okay. Some Buddhist monks are actual vegetarian. I'm not going to call them vegans, because vegan is a religion. Yeah, in the UK government actually recognizes veganism as a religion. Yes, and it is a religion. So there's a difference between someone who's a vegetarian, who prefers to eat vegetables and fish and eggs and stuff like that for health reasons, or in the Buddhist monk's case, for religious reason. To where vegans believe in not killing animals, any animals, just because, even if you farm an animal and you kill it for food, they're against that too. So basically, I guess you can say they are an offset of PETA. I don't know. Yeah, it's burning pretty slow. I've been puffing. Of course, I've been talking. I've been puffing on this pretty good, pretty going. So in our case, again, my dad was working with the CIA, and they had a plan because they knew that, hey, the country's going to fall. You guys need to have a plan to I wouldn't even call it a bug out. I guess you can call it a bug out plan. And of course, my parents' plan were to cross the Mekong, which is like a mile across in some places. But Mekong's a big ass river. It's kind of like the Mississippi, where in some places it's like a mile across. You can barely see the other side of the shore if you're standing on the shoreline. So my parents got a house, or you can call it a hovel, I don't know, on the Mekong. And what my mom and grandmother did was planted a vegetable garden right on, because the house was up. And I guess the riverbank was kind of a steep incline, and they planted vegetable garden on there so that they can go tend the vegetable garden and also look out for the communist gunboats. And I remember my mom saying, the day before they had to bug out, she saw a family, it's husband and wife and 2 kids. And they were trying to cross, and of course the communist gunboat actually saw them, and she remembers she's like they gunned them down. The husband and wife, kids, all if the bullets didn't kill them, they drowned. So she was like, yes, I was so scared, I was shaking when she saw that, because she knew that, hey, we're going to have to do this next. So it's like a day later, the CIA agent that my dad was working with, he comes up to the door, because the CIA guys, they're bugging out too. I think a lot of the Green Berets, they bugged out, but a lot of them stayed behind. And yes, the commies were looking for them. I remember my grandmother saying that the commies were looking for we call them Falang, which is basically it means Frenchman, but it's used to refer to as white folks, Westerners. She's like, yeah, they were looking for the Falun. What they would do is come into the village, because like I said, some of the Green Berets, I think some of the CIA guys couldn't get out; they stayed behind, and a lot of the Green Beret guys took wives, so they had wives and kids that I guess they didn't want to leave behind. So they would come in, and of course they didn't have electricity in these villages, and they would go into like the main hut when they round everybody up, and they go through and fill your nose. Yeah, my ass would have gotten killed, man. I got a big Western style nose. And she said they would fill. Yeah, they're like, yeah, if your dad, if they came into our village and your dad would have been killed. Yes, my dad's got a nose like me. Well, I mean, I got my nose like my dad. So, yeah, they wouldn't even, look at your face. They would just fill your nose. If you had a big nose, they kill you right there. And like my grandmother said, there were villages where this had a pit of dead men and boys. They would kill the men and boys. They leave the women alive. And yes, the B-52 bombing, the Ho Chi Minh trails. I remember my mom and grandmother saying, yeah, we could. It was probably 10 miles away, but we could feel the bombs impacting the ground and literally shaking the house like it's an earthquake. So yes, you don't want to be in a war. But I guess when a war might kind of what's that one? The Lords of the Ring. What's his name? Aragon. Kind of what Aragon said to that king. What's his name? He wasn't king. What's his face? That the guy that the trust of Gondor, not Gondor. That guy that I forgot his name. Damn it. Well, he wasn't the king of Gondor. He's just basically the steward. Yeah, the steward of Gondor. Forgot his name. When Aragon told him, hey, war is upon you, whether you like it, whether you want it or not. So war is upon you, whether you want it or not. And yeah, I don't know, war might be upon us, whether we want it or not. Huh, I'm surprised. Okay, well, I guess I'll wrap it up quick here before the camera goes out. It is a lot cooler tonight. So it is a weekend smoke, so this is a good cigar. It's definitely recommend the Macanudo line. They have I think 10 or 15 different lines of Macanudo. They're a pretty popular brand. They've been around for years and years. I've not tried them until like the last few years. It's like, hey, Macanudos ain't bad. And they're not pricey either. They're not cheap, but they're not pricey, and they're not bad at all. Yes, and if you have a Cigar International, a store close to you or around you, we got one here we have one in Fort Worth and one in Dallas. And I go to either one. And yeah, they have the Macanudo Lounge, which is I used to go there to at least once or twice a month, to try different cigars, order a cocktail while I'm there, sipping on my drink, enjoying a cigar, and of course you have other cigar smokers there, so you're with like-minded people. I usually talk sports. I don't really talk politics there. So anyways, so yeah, so the CIA agent comes, he knocks on the door, he's like, hey man, the commies are at the city gate, you need to leave now. So my parents had the bug out plan, and they pretty much left with just the clothes on their back. So they loaded up the us kids onto a small 6-foot rickety paddle boat. And yeah, if you ever watch any videos I guess there are a lot of Thai and Thai Isan YouTubers who and if you look at the boats, the little rowboats that they use, that's that's basically what my parents use. And like my mom said, she's like, I was so afraid the boat was going to take on water and sink because it literally had, she said it literally had about 2 to 3 inches of, because there's so there's my grandmother, my mom, my dad, us kids. Some of us weren't even born yet, but yeah, the ones who were born, in the boat, and when they were rowing, they made the us kids lie down. I was just 2 years old, by the way, so I always had this memory. The smell of the riverbank, the smell of the dirt, the garden that my mom and grandmother planted, and the smell of the I guess the Mekong. I always had this memory, and again, I didn't know what it was until my mom, told us the story of the bug out story. I was like, that's where that memory came from. So I was like 2 and a half, almost 3. So they put, my brother and sister and me, they made us lie down. My mom's like, she made us lie down. They put fishing net on top of us. So that if the commie, of course they lucked out, the communist gunboat didn't show up. So unlike the couple the day before who ran into the communist gunboat. So I guess it was early morning. So I guess the commies were still asleep because my dad was saying, yeah, it's early in the morning when the CIA agent came, banging on the door saying, hey man, you guys got to leave now. The commies are okay. There you go. It's overheating. The commies are here. They're going to kill us. Get out. And yeah, and that's my story of, and of course we did the right thing of what refugees were supposed to do. You go to the country that is adjacent to your country. You wait there while your papers are being processed. Of course, since my dad worked for the CIA, they help, fast track our paperwork. But we were still there for like 6 months before the fast tracked, paperwork went through, and yeah, they put us on a plane and flew us into the United States. And like I said, we are Buddhist. We're not going to blow anybody up, anything like that. We Buddhist, people from Asia, and of course Afghanistan is considered South Asia, where the India, Pakistan, Afghanistan area is considered South Asia. But Asians in general, Buddhists, on the Buddhist side, we tend to meld in with culture, follow the rules and laws. We don't have a Sharia Buddhist law that we try to force people to follow. So that's it. Enjoy your cigar, and again, I try looking into that nicotine may help fight off COVID, because they're saying that a lot of smokers, cigarette smokers and stuff, aren't getting COVID. So it might be, some truth to it. But but I guess if you smoke weed, you're not getting nicotine, you're getting THC, which is different. But if you're smoking your cigar, you're smoking your cigarette, you're vaping, you're getting your nicotine patch, you're probably going to be okay. But I definitely suggest taking some vitamin D, some C, some zinc, and of course, if you can get your hand on HCQ and ivermectin, definitely do not take your dog's heartworm medicine. And yeah, and I mentioned last time it was like $120. It's actually cheaper. It was like $60 for a 6-month supply. So basically, it comes out to like $10 per dose, which is still pretty cheap, I guess, if it's $10 per dose. Because like I said, when I got the worm, then the doctor prescribed me ivermectin. It was like $5.99 for two doses for me and my wife. And thanks for watching. And hopefully you don't have to ever, become a refugee. I don't know where we're gonna go. You can't go back to the old country. It's still communist. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe go to Japan. Who knows? They seem to be based over there.